Hello, welcome back. Anytime you have a hobby or an interest, one of the joys is being able to talk to other people about it. And if you're like me, there's not a lot of people around me who care a lot about my hobby. So I reach out to the community and the YouTube channels for talk and information about what I enjoy, and that's tabletop sports, baseball in particular. Um, and I've watched just about all of the videos available, so I thought I would make a new one. And joining me to talk about all things Stratomatic baseball is Baseball Demos. So appreciate you stopping by and talking some Strat with me.
Sure, glad to do it.
All right. So before we get into talking about Strat in particular, I had a couple questions for you. And number one is just for my own interest is what got you into YouTubing?
Well, actually, I was watching. It's probably the same story that other people have, where they see other people doing it, and it looks like fun,
Hmm.
and then when you try it, it's harder than you thought it was, and you
Right.
realize your equipment is not as good as their equipment is, and so your first couple of videos, especially, look really, really bad, and so that's how I got started. I saw
Okay.
Steve Tower,
Okay.
Al Wilson, and I believe Tabletop Earl were the three that were before me that were doing this kind of a genre.
Okay.
And I was just searching YouTube one day and found it and said, okay, this is kind of cool. And so it actually got me in the hobby. And then once I got in the hobby, it's
Oh,
like, okay, well, maybe I can, return the favor and do something maybe that somebody else might want to see or learn from. Maybe I can teach something. I don't know.
so
That's where
you've
the
been
name came from, was demos, because my original intent for the channel was just to do game demos to show people a game and see if they want to buy it or not. It was never to
okay.
do replays or any of that kind of stuff. It just kind of
Awesome.
morphed into
Okay. Now, how long have you been doing it? You've been like
that.
7 years or so, right?
Yeah, it's at least, I would say, since 2000, yeah, at least 7 years, I would say.
Okay.
I think late summer of 15, maybe. It might have almost, it's coming up on 8 years almost.
Wow. Yeah, I know that you've got quite a catalog, and I've watched a lot of them and enjoyed them very much. So you're saying that you didn't play tabletop sports before you started the channel?
That's correct. And my main thing was computer games. So,
Okay.
I mean, no, let me regress. When I was a teenager and going way, way back, I played Status Pro, and that, I won't spoil one of your other videos on
Okay.
that, but I did play Status Pro, and that kind of got my feet wet into that. But
Okay.
then as I got in my young adulthood, I found the computer was a lot easier. I was kind of lazy, I guess. It was
Uh-huh.
just easier. It kept the stats for me, did everything for me.
Sure.
So I played everything from Tony La Russa baseball, Earl Weaver baseball with the little baseball wheel that had the coating on it or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then in '94, I bought my first Strat PC game. I
Okay.
had a '93 tree with 3 seasons because of anything else. And then I got to Diamond Mine. That was one of the big things that got me. It was Diamond
Yes.
Mine because
Yeah.
I really liked how it was. It was all number crunching because I was a bean counter to begin with, so it was all number crunching. I didn't care about graphics. It was just, I want the meat and potatoes of a solid game, and that's what I got my feet wet on, was Diamond Mine.
Okay.
And that was the first
And
couple
then
of
so
videos I did, but I didn't know how to do anything, so the video quality was really, really bad. But
then you got into the cards and dice more once you
right,
started the channel.
actually in 2000 and 2001, I actually bought the Strat sets for those 2 seasons
Hmm.
with the intent that, oh, maybe one day they'll be valuable or something like that.
Okay.
And I tried to pull them out. I was like, I can't even figure this game out. So I just put it away, put it on my bed. And then for some reason in 2015, I got back to it, bought the 2014 set. And I actually sat down and said, you know what? If other people can play this game, I can play this game. So let me figure out how to get it done. And, I started with the basic, then went to the advanced. And after I saw some other people play super advanced, I took the dive into that. So,
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, I consider you one of the pillars of the community, and so one other question before we get into Strat is, what do you contribute? What do you think part of your success is? Your
wow.
channel.
I don't know if you want to call it success or not. I I try to, if you notice, most of my videos, I'm not on the camera. I'm usually behind the camera or the
Hmm.
phone in this case, or whatever I'm using, because I want the game to be the star of the video. So I'm
Okay.
trying to show the people. I want to put the video out so the person is like they're sitting in my chair watching, and I'm just playing it for them. But it's
Okay.
like they're watching it as if they're sitting in my seat.
Sure.
Is kind of what I'm trying to do.
Uh-huh.
And when I was growing up, two things I really wanted to be was a baseball manager and a baseball announcer.
Okay.
I'm never going to be either one, but this lets me get the closest I can get to it because I look at Stratomatic and some of these other games as simulations. Like flight simulation is a simulation like you're flying an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, this is a simulation of you're the manager.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to make all decisions that a regular manager would make given the circumstances they're given. And so it's like I treat it as a simulation.
And you get to call the game.
I get to call the game as best I can. I mean, I'm not flamboyant like some of the guys on YouTube are. I'm more matter of factly and just kind of say, here it is. And
Well,
if somebody's home run, I might get a little bit raised in the voice, but not a whole lot.
Well, obviously, a lot of people enjoy your channel and and your videos. They do quite well, and I know I love watching them. And again, that basic approach. There's a lot of Hall of Fame baseball announcers that have that. So, again, I enjoy it very much. So, we'll jump back in here into Strat. So, watching your channel and listen to you talk. So I'm a collector. I think I'm up to like 56 or something Strat seasons.
Wow.
You don't have that many, correct? You have about 5 or 6 seasons based on
probably one longer. Uh-oh. Do we all right? Look like we
you're back
blinked
now.
there for a second. Might have been on my end. I don't know.
No worries.
But a lot of the sets I have, I bought aftermarket. There's a gentleman, I guess he's pretty well known in the Strat community, called Moonlight Graham, that sells aftermarket things, a little bit more reasonable than eBay does. And so sometimes I caught a sale. He would have a sale, and I'd kind of go overboard, even though it wasn't the season I necessarily wanted. It was like, oh, it's only $50. That's a great price for this set with the extra players. Let me get it.
Right.
So I got like 2003, 2004, 2005. Hardly ever played them, but I've got them. So.
Okay.
But I'm not a collector per se every year. Although up until 2020, I was getting a Strat set. I would get the new computer game and the Strat set with the extra. It's the package deal they make.
Correct.
Which makes it a little bit more reasonably priced, where you get the computer game, the cards, and the extras all together with the card imaging. It's like one price or whatever. So I did it up to 2019. Now 2020, I didn't do it because to me that was a false season. I didn't even care about the COVID season.
Yeah,
I did get it for 2021. Not the computer, but I got the card set because I got 47 and 86 in 2021 when they were coming out year before last.
Right.
And then this year, I didn't get it for some reason this year. I guess because I'm not as enamored with the modern game as I used to be.
Right.
I'm trying to change that now by doing the replay I'm doing in Payoff Pitch.
Correct.
Taking the modern season. So I'm trying to get familiar with the players and try to. So when I watch a game that's on TV now, I'm like, okay, I know who this guy is. I know what his card looks like. I know how he plays. And then vice versa. After watching them, I can go back and play the cards. Oh, I know who this guy is. I saw him last night on the game of the week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but normally I would get it every year. But and I may do it next year. I don't know. I may do it next year.
So you didn't get the 76 set this year either?
No, because I've got 76 in another game. So and two other games. So
right.
I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything like that. I mean, I might get it if it's if they have a sale or free shipping or whatever their little perk is that they do sometimes.
Yeah, kind of going into that. So Strat is not the cheapest by any stretch. I don't think they're the most expensive, but they're up there.
The thing that makes them expensive to me is their shipping. Right. And so if I do order from them, I try to do bulk orders. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get like 3-4 seasons and make this, shipping cost worth its while kind of thing.
Which is probably what they're after. So
it could be.
I guess it works for them, but they're definitely not the cheapest. And then, like you mentioned, the secondary market is, certainly a challenge, just to say the least.
But I mean, Strat offers something other companies don't offer to me, which is their excellent player ratings. Right. And the ratings of the cards. So to use the coffee analogy, you go to a Starbucks to pay a little extra because it's what you want versus
Mhm.
going to McDonald's and getting something that's okay, but not necessarily what you really, really want. So you put up with the cost just to get the, you save up and say, I'm going to save a little bit extra money and I'm going to go ahead and get this set.
Yeah, and that's kind of where for me, probably one of the main selling points for me with Strat is the ratings. They have a reputation. I mean, even in Major League Baseball, people like Keith Hernandez and Glavine, those guys, they lend credence to,
Right.
Strat's rating system. Now, obviously, range and speed, things like that are a little subjective. So there's an art form to that. But for
Right.
me personally, that's one reason I like Strat so much is because I trust their
Right.
ratings more than any other game. So
Yeah.
would you,
I don't know
you,
if you
you
remember a player that played in I think it was in the early 90s named Doug Glanville. He used to play for
yeah,
the Phillies and the Cubs.
the Cubs.
And he
Yeah.
was, for years, he was rated as a 1 center fielder. And then
Uh-huh.
there was 1 year where they docked him down to a 2. And I think he personally called Stratomatic to complain about making him a 2, which I thought was kind of interesting. But
Yeah, no, I don't know. He was a big fan of Stratomatic, and so
him
yeah,
and Keith
again,
Hernandez, I know, is another
right,
one.
yeah, and so those guys, and again, I mean, even in the again major league community, I can't think of other
Right.
examples off the top of my head, but there's been other ones where they seem to lend credence, to the
Yeah.
value in Strat's ability to rate
Yeah.
object or subjective things like that. So
And
for
if
me,
I'm not
that's a big
mistaken,
thing.
Strat is in the Hall of Fame too. In the Baseball Hall of Fame, they was set a
They are.
Stratomatic display, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, I'm pretty sure App is there too.
Oh, they are.
Um,
Oh, App is
I
there. Okay.
believe so. App is like the granddaddy. They've been around
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Um,
And before we get going, in case anybody watching is thinking that I have this expensive piano and stuff, that's a background. That's not the room I'm in.
yeah,
Just so everybody knows.
couldn't figure out. He's doing really good at his YouTube channel there with the
Yeah, no, not that good. No.
grand piano.
I'm somewhat frugal, so I would never,
You wouldn't buy it if you had it.
yeah, I don't think it's not my style. Put it that way. But it's
So
a nice background. I mean, it's a nice
yeah,
background
it looks a lot more impressive than mine.
instead of having my cat or something back there behind me.
So I'll talk in generalities here first. So
Mhm.
we talked a little bit about a plus. What would you say some of the other pluses to Strat are in your mind? We got the ratings, which again
Right,
probably for me is number one. What
right.
else would you say would be a plus?
Well, I'll borrow one from you if you don't mind.
Sure.
It was you did this on a payoff pitch video, I think,
Mhm.
where you said one of the advantages of strategy you get 3 games in one.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas in payoff pitch, if you want the left, right splits or the playing cards, you have to buy them separately. It's a
Right.
separate purchase. Whereas in Stratomatic, all you do is flip the card over,
Right.
and you can go from basic to advanced in one shot. And you've got 3 different levels you can play. So to me,
Mhm.
that's an advantage right there.
It is. And app the master symbols on the cards, but you have to buy the master
You have to buy the master
game.
book. Yeah,
Right, the master book,
exactly.
and, yeah, so yeah, and that's a big deal because again, if you're just coming into it, I started Strat when I was 14, and,
Yeah,
it wasn't long before I went into, um, the advanced and,
right,
they wasn't super advanced then. That didn't start till, I think, in the mid to late '80s,
right.
but, I mean, to me, it's second nature, and
Yeah,
so I realize for other folks that's not that way,
right.
like you described, you know
Although I would say for anybody that's never done any baseball board game at all, to me, the perfect game to start is Stratomatic Basic.
Mhm. Yep, very
I think
very
that's
simple.
the best place to get your feet wet. That's how I got my feet wet.
Yep.
And then once you get comfortable with that, then you can add on whatever it is you want to add on, whether it's
Mhm.
the left right splits, the different fielding. A lot of people, and I found this out in my demolition league, the advanced fielding board does seem to create a little bit more errors than probably
Mhm.
should. But
Right, yeah, no,
now
I
that's been a
think that as
complaint that
well.
people like to use the super advanced fielding chart rather than the advanced one because it creates supposedly, and I kind of found it out a little bit of the errors. So
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I'm familiar with it, so I don't have that. It's been a long time since I came into it new. To me, the super advanced is easier than the advanced because I've done it longer,
right, yeah. I mean, that's the
You
thing
roll
we got to
3 die
remember
and there you
for
are,
those of us that have been doing it for years. and I used to be better at this about recognizing people that either just coming into the hobby or haven't played the game very often. I'm almost, I almost assume everybody knows how to play it.
Mhm.
So maybe that's a bad assumption. Maybe I need to go back to, you know, not necessarily doing a how to, but maybe, and I try to do this sometimes with the other games I play. If I'm not familiar with this, is I'm trying to explain it as I'm playing it, but
Right.
that kind of takes away from the flow of the game. So you
Right.
kind of try to find a happy medium. But I try to explain, not necessarily on Strat, but other games, like, this is why I'm checking this result, or this is why I'm going to this chart,
Mhm.
because this thing says to do it. I'm just not doing it just because I want to.
Yeah, no, I feel like you got a good balance. When I watch your
Yeah,
videos, like, for example, inside pitch. I have inside pitch and I've played it a little bit, but not, I haven't really got into it. And so,
right.
when I'm watching you play that game, I think you do a really good job
Yeah,
of balancing between the action and, things that are going on. So that,
right.
that was kind of my next question. So, you've done a ton of strat on your channel.
Hmm.
And you do other games, which I think is great. I just picked up Status Pro, and
Right.
so I have been watching your Status Pro videos. But so and again, a lot of times these things change from day to day, year to year. But
Right.
how do you feel Strat matches up, to the other games you're playing? I mean, do you have a favorite? I guess I'm asking, or is it
Um,
that fluctuate?
yeah, I mean, if you'd asked me this about 2 years ago, my Desert Isle game would have been Strat, hands
Mhm.
down. But now, I mean, I have three games that are just so close together. It's like 1A, 1B, and 1C, and that's inside pitch, payoff pitch, and Strat.
Okay.
Those are three are just head and shoulders above everything else
So those
to
3 are
me.
kinda neck and neck right now
Yeah.
for you. Okay. So let
Yeah.
me
I
ask
mean,
you this. So we're talking about
and,
Strat. So what about Strat what does Strat don't do that you feel like those other games do?
one is they don't card everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
And if I'm doing a season replay, I like to have all the cards.
Mhm.
Now, granted, I can go into the computer. I don't have I used to have the little app thing on the phone, the little
Mm.
$5, whatever it is, the player app thing or whatever, but I
Right.
never could figure out how to print from that. But if I have the computer, I can use my snipping tool and snip it and put it in Word. But that's just too much work. I don't want to go
Right.
through all that work for that. And another fact, while you're here, let me, I think I've got a card here. Let me try this. I'm going to try something real quick, unscripted.
Okay. Go right ahead.
All right, let's look at this, for example. I've got an inside pitch card and a Strat card. How about that?
Okay.
All right. See this card? This is a card right here. Let me get it out here so it doesn't get blocked. Can you see
Yeah.
that card?
I think if you put it by your chest, right under your chin, you should be good.
Right
There you
here.
go.
Can you see it there?
I
Okay.
do.
Can you see which card it is? Can you tell from the thing?
I can't.
Okay. Can you tell what team they play for?
Nope.
No. Okay. Now let's look at this card.
The coloring looks like Atlanta.
I don't know if I can get it
The
up closer or
Yankees?
not. Actually, it's kind of hard because my thing on my computer is not very good, so it's kind of really not good. This is
Oh,
Chicago
Chicago
White
White
Sox.
Sox. Yeah,
Yeah.
I blew up the screen
But
while
what
I
I
was
was saying was, if I had a pile of these on the table just laying flat,
Mhm.
I wouldn't know what team it was or what team they
Right.
belonged to. But if I had a pile of these sitting there, I know it goes to Chicago White Sox
Right,
pile.
because of the coloring. Yeah.
So to me, I mean, I like that they do blue and red, but it would be nice if they had some kind of a team coloring,
Mhm.
because actually on the front of on the advanced side, they don't have the team name. You got to go to the basic side to get that.
Right.
And it's like you said also in your video, I think, about the stats. You've got to go to
Right.
the basic side to get the stats. You can't even get the stats on this. It's
Right.
got the
Without
ratings,
flipping
but
it
not the
over.
stats.
Right.
So that's, if you want to call it downsides, a couple of the downsides that I had there with
Or
Strat was that.
yeah.
I mean, each
So,
game is going to have the good and bad, so
of
there's no
course.
perfect
Yeah,
games.
and that's kinda what, again, I mean, if Strat was your favorite and it's no these other ones are kinda competing, there's obviously something that Strat's
Right,
not doing that these other ones are.
right,
So, now one thing about Strat is great is the splits, and I know that you
right.
love splits, I love splits.
Hmm.
One good thing about Strat is and I've noticed that there's quite a few games that I'm finding that split the batters, not the pitchers.
Right.
Like, replay or not replay, but,
Payoff pitch.
payoff pitch and
Hmm.
at Master.
Yep.
I did that video with Tebow,
Yep.
which was really wonderful. But, Strat, has the splits for the lefties and righties,
Mhm.
pitchers and hitters. So
Absolutely.
that's a big deal, because again, payoff pitch, in my mind, has the best batter pitcher interaction. I mean, to me,
Right.
that's brilliant.
Yep.
Nobody does that like that. Inside pitch comes kind of close, but
Yeah. No, but in payoff pitch, the pitcher drives everything. I mean, if
exactly,
they're
and
throwing
the
tough
quality,
pitches,
yeah, quality of the pitch that
yeah.
determines. Some to me that is brilliant. I wish
Yep.
that they had it split lefty righty.
And I actually almost on the PDF sets I have gone in and kind of try to finagle some of the pitcher cards and draw split lines
Split,
and
yeah,
put the tough ones 6 and 7 if they're tough against lefties, and
right.
put the tough one 9 and 10 if they're not so good against righties or something. But I haven't really tinkered with, but the thought was there.
Yeah. No, again, I
But
mean, that's one thing about Strat. They do give you the splits
yeah,
for both.
but
Um,
the argument I hear, and I can't wrap my head around because it doesn't make any sense. They're saying the numbers are baked in, the splits are baked into that. I just don't see how you can bake a split in. That just doesn't make sense to
well,
me.
yeah, you can't really. I mean, the thing is, I think what they're saying is that the results will come out right. And
Yeah.
that's true for APBA Basic.
Now
You're
in
not you don't
payoff
have
pitches
any pushback.
defense, what they can do is if, say, for instance, I don't know, I'm trying to find somebody that can't hit lefties. There was a guy named John Lowenstein for the Orioles, and that I like never had any. He had like 3 at bats all year against lefties or whatever.
Right.
Well, he's going to have his payoff pitch card is going to have 0 average on it. So even though your lefty you bring in is maybe doesn't have his splits, he can force the batter to go to his weak side, and that kind of helps a little bit.
A little.
Yeah.
And then, and again, I know like a lot of us will kind of manage left right splits even if it's not
Yeah.
in the game. I mean, when I'm playing APBA Basic, I will,
Yeah.
I'll again, it's no fun to me if I'm playing the system, and
Yeah.
so,
I'll do the
I'll
same thing
manage.
with History Maker or something like that. If it's,
Yeah, we all
if it,
do.
that I'll do it that way, or it's even replay, because replay has some splits, but not maybe as
Yeah.
robust as I would like.
Right. Yeah. No, they have some generic caked in on that one result.
Yeah,
Uh,
3-6 result is generic, and then in column
right.
6 you might get once in a blue moon.
Exactly.
And the
And then
certain
right,
pitchers will have a split,
right,
but they got to be extreme. So
right. So, again,
yeah,
my desert island, I would want it to have, split as possible like Strat.
yeah,
But again, when I'm playing other games,
yeah.
it's, they
Well,
all do different things, like you said.
like I told somebody else, my desert island game would be one game that combines the ratings of Strat, the card quality of payoff pitch, the colors of inside pitch, and the computer interface of PC replay baseball. Then I'd be happy.
Well, I tell you what, you're
It
preaching to
might
the
cost me
choir.
$200 to get the game,
I've
to get
never
the
heard
game,
that, but yeah, that I
but
agree
I
with
would
that
like that. That would be my
100%.
Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yep, that
You know,
would be good.
that would do
Um,
everything I would need right there.
Now, when I'm watching your videos, we'll delve into the computer version of Strat here just a little bit.
Hmm.
I hear you. You're entering your results into the Strat computer, and you usually, I know this new project you're actually rolling for the other team's results, but typically in the past you use Strat to do the auto games and
Right,
things like that.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So generally speaking, you're using the computer on the side, right?
Right. Either that or replays computer, either one.
So you're using
Depends.
either one of those.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the Strat computer? I mean, obviously, then the obvious that it's needs a huge
Yeah.
overhaul, but other than that,
I mean, I don't mind the graphic part of it. That's fine. Um, I've gotten better at data entry on there, direct entry. I mean, for the
yeah,
plays,
the
I used
shortcut.
to, I used to have to click, like, okay, I got to ground ball,
Oh yeah,
second base, first base, run on first goes to second. That's why I like replay. They got one button that says 643. You hit that,
yeah,
boom, it's gone.
yeah, yeah.
You don't have to do anything. But I've gotten better at Strat in inserting the different plays. So I guess just from over usage of it or excessive uses of it, I've gotten to where I've done that.
Yeah,
And
once
with
you
the
learn the shortcut keys, it's
yeah,
not bad at all.
yeah, I kind of found out about those pretty quick. So
Now, um, I historically have played it where I'm rolling my own dice.
hmm
I got the cards on the table. I got my computer up. I'm
yep,
rolling my own dice and then letting it do the computation. This
right,
latest project I'm doing with the 2022, I'm actually doing everything and then inputting the results.
You're doing
So
the
I don't
manual
have
entry.
I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I'm finding that I almost, the advantage of doing the other way is that you have the computer manager, which I like,
Right.
but doing it, inputting the results, I'm finding that I like that for different reasons, because again, you're getting your X charts out,
Right.
you're doing you're computing yourself, I'm getting
Mhm.
refreshed with the rules because when you're letting the computer do the heavy lifting, quite often you're
Right.
not following along. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing based on what I see in your videos, and I know you do a lot on the side, is that typically how you do it, where you're just
Yes.
inputting the results, not doing the dice rolls?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Because I
And you
feel like I want to feel like I'm playing the board game, and I just use the computer to keep my stats. That's basically what I rely on that for.
now
Is to
another
sim other games and keep my stats.
Another thing, yeah, doing the auto games, yeah. And
Yeah.
so another cool thing about it is that you actually have your, like when you need a second base range E rating, it's right there on
Mhm.
the screen.
Right on the
I don't
screen,
have
right?
to
Don't have to write on the score sheets, right there on
exactly.
the screen.
Or if there's a
Or
pass
if it's a
ball,
player that's not carded, he's right there.
yeah,
So,
that's true. I know like I did the game today with 47,
mhm.
that way, but in 47 they've got the pitchers carded, with the real results. And obviously they
Right,
don't have those carded on the table, they're carded
right,
on the computer. And
right,
so I could still roll and see on the computer what the result was and still enter it manually.
right.
So yeah, that's but I'm fine. That's something new for me.
Yeah,
And I'm finding I enjoy it quite a bit.
right.
So
Well, that's kind of why I like the replay PC game. To me, that captures the board game better than any other
it does.
PC game out there. But the only other PC game out there basically is Strat and maybe Digital Diamond or something like that, or
Yeah.
that has the dice too. That
Yeah.
would have dice too. So,
Now
um,
Digital Diamond has, I guess it has Status Pro in it.
yeah, it
So
does.
that's
Although
that's
I haven't delved into that part of it.
I haven't either.
I use it to do direct entry on my Yankee replay that I'm doing with
Okay.
payoff pitch. But
So that's what you're
and
using for your Yankee
yep,
replay?
that's what
Okay,
I'm using for
awesome.
Yankee, which is why I'm using Fast Score to do the other games because I mean I'm letting the Digital Diamond do its auto thing or whatever, but um, people seem to when they were watching RJL's inside pitch stuff, they seem to like that ticker thing or whatever. So I said,
Yeah,
oh, I'll do that too. But
interesting
my
twist.
problem was I'm doing one video per series, so to sit down and play 4 games of rolling dice on Fast Score, that's a little redundant. So I decided just do this Fast Score for the day I'm playing it
Mhm.
and do that offline too with everything else. But
Yeah,
I've got an Excel spreadsheet on the computer, so I'm keeping track of wins and losses and all that stuff. So
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, that's an interesting wrinkle and twist.
yeah.
But I know typically, I thought that I, heard you that you're using the Strat in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah, but a lot of times, if replay will have the season on the PC, I prefer to use that. I will even play Strat replay and put it in PC replay because the interface is just so much easier.
Okay, so if you have, let's say you got 75 in both,
Hmm.
and you got the
I
Strat
would do the
cards,
PC
you would
replay.
use the PC over the Strat
Yeah. I would use the Strat cards to play the game, but I would
uh,
input it into PC
into a
replay.
PC replay. Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt PC replay is by far the best. I guess that I've used the Strat so much that
Hmm.
if I have both, I would
I
go
mean,
with
I'm good with
Strat.
Strat. I mean, it's not an issue. I
But,
mean, when I was
but
doing the Demolition League, that's what I was using. So
Strat, yeah. And there's no doubt
everything was
replay is got hands down got the best computer version of
yeah,
the cards and dice game,
yeah,
around. And
absolutely.
replay itself is a great game.
Yeah.
Again, it's got its pluses and minuses, but
It's a little backwards because in payoff pitch you're starting with the pitcher, and in PC in replay you're starting with the batter, and the pitcher has to try to counter what the batter does. So it's
right,
kind of because you're doing the red, white, and blue, so you're looking at the batter first and the pitcher second,
right.
which is a little bit unusual, but that's
Yeah, I mean, you're getting more of the result, and that's the beauty of the payoff is that it's more
yeah.
like watching a game, because
But
okay, he throws a
but
tough
then with the
pitch,
replay you can look at it and see, all right, the pitcher in column 3 has a 1, so he took the hit away. If he'd have been a 3, that would have been a triple. You can look on the
right,
board, you can
right,
see, okay, his 32 would have turned to a 35. That would have been a triple. So you can actually see what the good pitchers will do. So
right.
all the games have their
They do,
pluses.
and that's one reason I'm really glad that I have experimented because again, up until 2 or 3 years ago, I was just all Strat.
Yeah, if you just say all Strat and no no what's the word for it? No I can't think of the word for it now. I had a thought on my head now, and I just can't think of it. All Strat, no variety makes replay gamer a dull boy. How about
Yeah.
that? If you
Yeah,
remember that line from The Shining.
I do. Yeah. And I agree. I mean, again, it's made me, in some ways, it's made me like Strat more because
Yeah.
I always wondered, but still, some
And I mean,
days,
there's been some games I've tried. I tried them once or twice, and it's like, it's just really is not for me.
right.
But
And
I tried them. So,
everybody's different, and they certain people, whatever game that may be that wouldn't appeal to you, I'm sure they've got a following, and that's
exactly.
the beauty to having so many choices.
Yeah.
So, 50/50. Some people that's
Yeah.
a big deal, some people not so much. How about for you?
Um, it never really bothered me. I never really thought about it till somebody brought it up. But somebody else also had it uh, put it in a different way. Said, instead of picturing two individual cards for 50-50, imagine them as one big card where
Hmm.
the batter side is 1, 2, 3, and the pitcher side is 4, 5, 6. So it's one big 1x6 card. And to me, it's going to average out. I mean, I know, if you bring your closer in the top of the ninth and three results come off the batter card in a row, it's like you never had your closer in there, and that can be a little frustrating. But
Isn't it
that's not
so?
going to happen all the time. I mean,
Right.
that's
But it's
over
still
time. It's going to change itself.
it's
So
still frustrating a little bit.
yeah.
It's just
Or
like,
like if you're playing and you've got Tony Gwynn or Ted Williams and they keep striking off the pitcher card, that can be a little frustrating. It's like they're
right.
not going to strike out that much. But
But I agree with you. That somebody had told me that, because that was one of the main reasons I started other games, is because for some reason the 50/50 started bothering me.
yeah,
And the lack of seasons was another one. It's just like, well, I'm
right.
going to try something else. But again, somebody explained it that way, and that makes sense to me. It is just one big
Yeah.
card, and you're going off percentages. And now, one of the issues that people have because of the 50/50, however,
Mm.
is when you have like what I'm doing with Maddox.
Right.
He's got 233 innings and 20 walks, and amazingly, 7 of those were intentional.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, he had 13 walks
Mm.
that were not intentional in 233 innings. So when you're doing the 50/50, that's
He's going to get some
really
walks.
hard to replicate.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard that's
Same with
one.
the Bob Gibbs. I think people they're doing the 68 Bob Gibson replay found that out too. It's so hard
Right.
to replicate it.
It is, because I mean, you just don't hit his card enough.
Right.
And again, his card has absolutely no walks, but still,
Right. Yeah.
he's going to get, so that, this brings us to another thing is, I've never considered Strat to be a very good game to, homebrew stuff. I always felt like,
Mhm.
and maybe it's because I liked it and didn't feel I
Mhm.
needed it, but I never felt like it is a homebrew. But there's some people, when I was doing my Maddox replay, they would comment about how that they, in situations like that, they would actually make it an extra roll,
Uh,
to do something. Now
for
you
like your D20 roll with the league you're
exactly.
doing now.
Yeah, that you suggested. Now, again, because that's more of a what if, I feel
Mhm.
more at leisure to make some tweaks. When I'm doing a replay, especially as played,
Right.
I'm hesitant to do that. But the more I think about it, especially like Maddox's situation, the more I might be like, okay, if I get a walk on the batter's card, maybe something like the D20,
Right.
15 to 20, it's a reroll. But what are
Right.
your thoughts on Strat's tweakability?
Well, to me, I mean, tweakability to me is merging the way you play the game. Mixing part of the advanced rules with the super advanced rule. To me, that's the tweaking I do.
Okay.
I don't really necessarily have never really thought about tweaking anything else. The
Okay.
ratings are pretty good, so I never thought about changing the ratings like I have in some other games. I have actually physically changed the ratings for
Right.
some of the
Oh, I have too. Yeah.
games. Thinking that there's no way this guy's a bad defensive. He's a better defensive player than that. I got to,
Gotta do
like
something.
the what was the one? Anthony Rizzo for the payoff pitch. He's lists him as a 1 error rating. I'm like, dude had a 995 fielding percentage. He's no way he's a 1. They
Right.
gave him an A, which is the best range, but they gave him the worst defense.
The
And
worst hit.
so I just upped him to a 4 just to make it better. And of course, one of the games I played recently had an error, but that's because everybody. I mean, I rolled like a 20 something, so everybody would have had an error that day.
Sure.
But I mean, Strat to me, the thing that's tweakable or whatever to me is mixing and matching the
The rules.
rule
Okay.
sets to fit
So
what
other
you
than
like.
that, you don't typically tweak it much.
No, I've never gone to the computer game and try to edit anybody's ratings or anything like that, or
Okay.
taken one of the cards and try to change anything.
I will say, you touched on this. I'm doing the 2020, 2022 replay where I was
Mhm.
trying to make the National League more like 80s, 90s,
Right.
50s, 60s. And you suggested, because there's too many strikeouts, and you
Mhm.
suggested, if there's a strikeout result, if the D20 is 15 or higher, to do a reroll. And that's brilliant. I mean, that is
I
just
don't even know where
really,
I got that from. It's just something I was watching your video on that, and something just came and said, "Well, what if you did this?" I
well,
just put it in the comments
it works
just to see
great.
what you would say.
I had one guy who's obviously a numbers guy. He
Mhm.
computed it to where he said it comes out to about 5% less
Mhm.
walks.
No,
If
I have
you,
no idea what the percentages are.
I didn't either, but that's what he
I just came
said,
with the number out of the blue. I
and he
figured
gave me the
15 out of
numbers.
20 was
Yeah,
good enough.
but, then that's great. Again, so basically all you're doing is just putting more balls into play.
Right,
Most
exactly.
of the time. Now, I mean,
And like you said, the guy could strike out on the next at bat just
it
as easy.
happens. But
I
again,
was just
that's
saying, I think what I put in the comments to you was just, it's as if he checked his swing and they appeal to the umpire, and the
right.
umpire says, he didn't go around.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's been brilliant. I
He's
mean,
still
it's
got
just
two strikes on him.
for what I'm doing, in that particular, again, because I'm deviating from reality a little bit.
Right.
Letting the pitchers
Well, when
hit.
you do what if, it means everything's fair game. You do what
Yeah.
if.
So I didn't want to. Again, I didn't want them to start, striking out 20 times, in a
Right.
600.
And and
But I
and
want it
and when you
less.
and when I started out, I was like firmly, it has to be as played. You can't deviate from as played.
I
You can't
typically,
do
yeah,
anything,
I
and
typically
that's the
do
way I
that.
always did it. But then when I saw some other people do it, I said, you know what? Maybe I should try to tweak sets. And I got this from Tenacious Earl. His Tenacious League is kind of where the Demolition League. That's exactly where it came from.
Hmm.
And I like that randomness where you just grouping these teams together and
See what
playing
happens.
a random season out and random. You make your own lineups. You do your injuries. Let the chips fall where they may, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So, and that is one of the beauties about Strat, again, because you got all three: basic, advanced, super advanced. And then and like
Right.
you said, you can pick and choose. I know for me, the only that I'm aware of, the only advanced I do is the cutoff rule. And
Yeah.
what that is if there's second and third, or first, if there's any runners on base, if you
Hmm.
go for the lead runner, then anybody on bases already will
Hmm.
advance automatically.
Yeah.
The hitter doesn't. Now,
Right.
in the super advanced cutoff, they have things where you can,
Yeah, you've got to decide whether you want to cut the runner off
right,
or
and
let it go or whatever. And if you're doing both sides, that's really, really hard to
it
do.
is, that was one of the beauties of Master Game, is that you've kind of got all that built in. And
Yeah.
like I talked with Tebow, you can kind of find yourself in the fetal position, all curled up, because you're doing
Yeah.
both sides. You don't know, well, should I or should I not?
Yeah.
But
No, if I'm playing the computer, then yeah, I'll do the whole bells and
yeah,
whistles, and
because
that way
it'll do
I'm
the
only
other
worried about
stuff.
one team, and I
Yeah,
can say, okay, this is what I would do or whatever. But
yeah.
you're kind of playing devil's advocate. All right, I want to do this, and I'll do this.
Second guessing, myself all the
Yeah.
time. But
Another good thing I like about Strat too is, at least on the computer, all cards are open engine, but some computer games are closed engine, so you don't know
mhm,
what's going on behind the scenes. At
yep.
least on Strat computer game, and I guess same with replay. If you use a pinch hitter and he makes an out, you can say, all right, well, if I'd use this other guy to pinch hit, how would he have done on that same role? He might have gotten a hit. So it kind of tells you what,
Well, and
maybe you
that
should have
goes
done this or
that goes to something that I really love about Strat, that I found out that that's not so much in other games. And that's that very point you made, is that the results are different. Now, like on replay, if you
Mhm.
roll an 11,
He's going to get a
90
hit.
95% of the time it's a hit. If I roll a 1-1 on a Strat card, it could
Hmm.
be anything.
Yeah.
And so
Same
that's
with the
where.
payoff pitch. If you roll a 99, you're making a fly out to right or left field,
Exactly.
regardless.
Even the status pro, the
Yeah.
singles tend to be the lower, or the hits are the
Yeah.
lower numbers, the outs are the higher numbers,
Yeah. Well,
you
that's one of
know.
the advantages of inside pitch too, is that matrix is all mixed up. So
Right. And
a 6-6 and a 1-1 and a 4-3, you never know what you're going to get.
exactly. And I like that.
Yeah.
There is some magic about Apple rolling a 6-6. There is something to
Yeah.
that. But generally speaking, I like my cards to have personality. And so again,
Yeah.
in Strat, you being a pinch hitter,
Yeah.
again, if you roll a 1-5, you're going to, your bench, you're going to get probably five total different
Exactly.
results. And I like
Exactly.
that. I
Yep.
guess every card has its personality. So that's a big selling point to
That's
Strat
that's
for
that was
me.
the kind of the detractor for me for Appa was like, it all depends on how good you roll doubles to me. I mean, it's at least to have a
A
basic. I
lot.
mean, I don't see what the I don't. It's just like it's just one of those games that I played and it just didn't stick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
People
again,
love it,
there's,
and more
oh
power to
yeah.
them if they do. But
I mean, it'll never be my favorite, but
yeah,
some
yeah,
there, at the basic, there's just a simplicity and a beauty to it. It's
yeah.
just fun sometimes just to lay it. Again,
I mean,
it's
I
like
might pull it out just to be different, roll the game once in a while. But as
exactly.
far as trying to sit down and do a replay with it or something, it just wouldn't be my cup of tea.
Yeah, probably the whole thing. So,
Which doesn't. I mean, obviously, it's a great game because, or they wouldn't be around this long. It just
well, that's why I
didn't.
bought it. Is
It
like,
just didn't.
it's
It's
been
just
here
not.
this long. It needs to be on my shelf. I need to see what it's
Yeah.
about. And
Oh,
I'm
and
glad I
I
did.
have a copy of the basic and the master game in
Oh
two
yeah,
seasons. So
I've seen your games. Matter of
I've
fact,
got 78 and I've got 86 and I've got 41. I got 3 seasons actually.
when I bought it, I watched some of your
Yeah.
app games because again,
Yeah.
you're kind of my go to if there's a game I don't have, and if you've got it, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
So again, every player card, it is a pretty big deal. Again, that's where I think Strat could really up their game there.
Right.
If they would do something, at
Right.
least give you a PDF or make them
That would
available
be really
something.
nice if they could offer some sort of a PDF. And I mean, granted, the devil's advocate would say, well, if you got the computer game, you've got your PDF right there. But that's a whole lot of snipping and cutting. And
Well, there's just some people who want them on the table,
yeah,
And again, for me, I can kind of get by with that because I'm doing them both at the same time. But
right.
all things being so, it's not a great big deal for me. But for a
Yeah.
lot of people, it is. And if you're trying to do it just on the table, totally, it's a deal breaker for a lot of folks.
And one more, if you want to call it downside to Strat, and this has nothing to do with the game itself. It has to do with me personally when I'm doing videos, the way because I don't when
Yeah, I
I
think I
do Strat,
hold on just a
see the
second.
cards
We got
say on the other games.
yeah, okay. I lost you
Back.
there. Could you say that again? We had a glitch.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened there, but whatever. One of the things with Strat that's a downside, and it's not against the game. It's me. It's the way I do my videos and everything. Because I use my phone, I don't have a fancy camera. When I put my phone up above the where I'm playing, sometimes the Stratomatic cards, the way they're formatted, the print's real small and everything. It doesn't show up very
Right.
well on the computer. Whereas an inside pitch card or a payoff pitch card shows a whole lot better on camera. So
Yeah.
I feel better doing the other games on video because I think people can see it better. That's
Yeah.
just, I mean, that's not a knock against Strat. That's just me with my
Yeah.
low end equipment.
Well, and it's also for people who, most of us people who love this hobby are getting older.
Yeah.
And so there
So
is, it's the being
the
able to
font
see
was a
it.
little bit bigger would be nice.
Yeah, it would be. It's just,
Now, did they update the font in the 2022 set, or is that still the same font?
it's on the basic side, yes, it's definitely
Okay.
different. On the advanced side, I can't really tell, but the
See, and
card
that's the thing.
stop is
If I was
much
gonna
better.
if I was gonna stream a Strat game on the basic, I think it would show up pretty well because you
It
got this
would,
nice big gray black backboard,
right?
whereas the other ones, this it's just real
Yeah,
compact. There's a whole lot of
it
stuff
is.
in there and not much room.
Yeah, I know when I'm doing my videos with Strat, I try to get the camera down as close as
Yeah,
I can so that you can hopefully
right.
see the cards.
But
Uh,
unfortunately, with the way I'm doing my setup, where I try to put the lineups in the bullpens and all that stuff, if I put in too close, then I
and use
lose
all
the
that.
peripherals.
Yep.
So I got
Yeah.
to figure out, okay, well maybe I thought people might like to see the lineup and who's on the
Mhm.
bench and who's available and who's in the bullpen that's available.
Yeah.
And as they're being used, it's kind of like the manager in the dugout. As soon
Yep.
as they're used, you scratch them off, or that way. If somebody can say, "Well, how come you didn't bring this guy to pinch hit?" Well, he's not on the ride. He wasn't active today, so
Yeah.
that's
No,
why I didn't bring him in because he's not there.
I think that's great. I think the way you do that is very, very well done and
I mean, I don't have a lot
enjoyable.
of the accoutrements that some other people have, so that's my version of accoutrement, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think that's also the one of the charms of the way you do it. There's something to be said for. I know I did the diamond. I bought the Diamond Gems 40 set, and
Right.
I did a couple games of the World Series. The Tigers and the Reds, and
Mhm.
from the 40s,
Right.
1940. And
Mhm.
I got a couple comments that people said they actually preferred that because they don't have that in the computer, and so
Mhm.
I didn't have my normal stuff.
Oh, the screen stuff set up.
Yeah, it
I
was just. just
I need to learn how
cards.
to do stuff like that so I can be more proficient. But,
I mean, if that's what you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. But
yeah,
again, I think there's a charm, and a lot of people like the analog, so to
yeah.
speak. And just you and the cards, and
Well, I
and
put the O in old school, so
yeah, no, I think that's part of the charm of your channel. I think that's why people enjoy watching your games. Um, so obviously we got the printing practices of Strat.
mhm.
That they don't reprint much. Now again,
Right.
97 was kind of a shock, at
Right,
least
they come out with these
for me.
little monthly surprises every once in a
Yeah,
while.
usually they do the ones that they've just recently recorded, like 69 or
Right.
61. I was expecting 80 or 82, because they had
Mhm.
just done those recently. So I wasn't
Right.
expecting 97 because, they never redid that one since 97.
Right.
But, that APBA, you can go to the APBA store and get every season
Yep.
from, 1892 or something till the
Yep.
present. And
That's
so I
another.
know,
I mean, every other game company, if they put a set out, it's going to be there forever. You can
right,
always order that set. It's never going to be out of stock. Whereas
right.
Strat, I guess, like some people say, it's like maybe it's their model to get people to buy more, to hurry up and buy it before the fear of missing. What is it? FOMO, fear of missing out, or
Yeah,
something.
no, I mean, and at least for
Maybe that's
me,
real. I don't know.
it is for me. I mean, because if they come out with a season and if I want it, I'm going to get it because I don't
Yeah.
know it because there's been quite a few times where it'd be like, like I missed out on 69 originally
Right.
because I thought, well, I'll just get it
Yeah.
later, and then it was gone. And so when they brought the reprint back up, I jumped all over it. So I
Oh yeah.
guess
Absolutely.
that's what they're going for.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of you snooze, you lose. I mean, you
You
just,
do, and
you know.
and
I mean,
so
2022, I think will be there a while, but I mean, some of these
yeah.
older sets are going
Well,
to sell out.
I
So
know. I think 15's gone.
yeah,
In whatever year the Red Sox won. What was it, 7 when they won that? Their,
07 and 04
yeah, yeah.
and 13, all three of them they
But
won.
their first one,
I'm not sure if is 16 still out there for the
it was
Cubs.
the last I looked because I
Oh,
actually picked that up not too long ago because I'm
okay.
kind of a semi Cubs fan,
Yeah,
and that was a pretty big year. But so I mean, I know 15's gone
yeah,
because I know that you were playing your last demolition league was 15,
right.
wasn't it?
Yep, that's why I'm using 15. Yep.
Yeah, and so I knew that was out of print. So yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to sit down with Hal or whoever makes those decisions. I would really be interested in, hearing,
Yeah,
what they're trying to accomplish with that because it's a business model that nobody else in the business does.
right.
And so I would be really
And it's not like
interested.
they don't have the seasons because they're right there on the computer. So I mean,
They've got them,
obviously they're there. All you have to
yeah.
do is
Well, it's the
get
same
it.
way with the extra players. They've got them because they're in the
Yeah,
computer. So
yeah,
they've created the cards,
yeah,
so why they don't print those or why they don't print, again, I think, there's something to do with collectability and that they're
yeah.
trying to kind of keep that for folks or something.
Well, that's why you don't see payoff pitch and inside pitch cards on eBay because you can go to the regular place and get them.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, you'll find them on the Delphi forum, but
Same with
again, they're
Appa.
going to
You can
be
go to the store
cheaper.
Appa and get them. So
Yeah. Except for Niaba does have some collectability and like the original print run,
right,
back from the fifth,
yeah,
I think 50 was the first season,
yeah.
and in the 50s and 60s, people do
Yeah.
want to collect
Well,
those.
it's sort of like you said about replay. You said it was like a cult following to get the original replay cards.
Right.
The tall picture cards and
Yeah.
some of the old styles and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Exactly. There's a lot of people since they've been doing the 6x6, want to
Yeah.
go back, and I actually got 27 and 89.
Hmm.
In that just because I Kirk Bergman. That's
Yeah,
one of the
Kirk
problems
Bergel, I
watching
think, was
YouTube
the
guys
first one I've
play
seen do that with the old
is like
style.
you watch somebody play something, it's like, ooh, I want that.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you think about the black set? What are your thoughts on that?
You want an honest opinion?
Yeah, I do.
Well, first thing I thought was, I said, I know it's going to be exorbitantly priced. So even if it was regular price, I probably wouldn't want it anyway. But the
Hmm.
fact that they were charging so much money for it, I was like, if you want to spend your hard-earned money and get that and keep it in plastic and never play it, go for it. But it just didn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah, same way. Again, I collect Strat to play.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean, now if they wanted to do it where, okay, we're going to make a Baltimore Orioles card, and the versus lefty is going to be in black, and versus righty is going to be in orange. Now that would be all right. The
Wouldn't
team
that be
colors,
awesome?
I could live with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, or even if they just had it bordered, and like you said, just
Yeah,
something to
some
give it a
colors.
little bit of eye candy.
Yeah, exactly. There's something to be
Yeah.
said for eye candy. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, there is. That's why we all like our little accoutrements and our logos
That's
and
why That's why we pay the extra money for the payoff pitch printed set, even though we've already got the same set in PDF, because it's so
yep.
much better.
All
You know,
payoff pitch cards are beautiful. I mean,
yeah.
they make you want to play because they're just so well done.
And I found this in other games too. If I get the PDF version of a set, I'm not as likely to pull it out and play as if I have the printed version.
Yeah, I'm
Just
same
something about
way.
the printed version that gets me a little more juiced. I just can't get juiced about a PDF set and pulling it out and playing it.
Well, you know what? It's
That's
odd.
just me.
The 2022 Strat set, the card stock is better. I mean, it's
Yeah.
noticeably better. I mean, I was hoping they would print 76 like that, and again,
Oh,
unless I'm missing,
that's not using that, I guess.
it's not, and not that I can tell. But the 2022, I mean, to me, there's a
But the
noticeable
black
difference.
set, I understand the black set was supposed to be really almost like payoff pitch quality, wasn't it? Some kind of,
I think it's better than the 2020.
I
The
mean,
regular
really like
22.
super quality.
Yeah, like maybe even glossy type.
Yeah, which is, I
deal.
think, why they were charging, why they were
Yeah.
justifying the price, because it costs more to print it.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I mean, it's that was an interesting move. When I think about the future of Strat, all the business practices just confuse me. I love Strat, and I always love Strat, and I've got enough Strat to, like on Sandlot when they find all those baseballs at the end. We can play forever. And that's so if they went out of business tomorrow, I'd be sad. But
I mean,
I've
kind
got
of
plenty to
worries me
play.
about the hobby though, because most people that do this are probably in our age range.
Yeah,
You don't see a lot of 20-year-olds
you hear a lot of
out there,
conversation about
rolling
where
games.
this is headed. So um, I can't help but wonder that we're just a different generation. We didn't grow up with the video games. Cards and dice is about the only way you could do it when I was little.
Right.
You know, and then if you grew up with the Maddens and all these things, I just don't know that you're ever going to get the market that we were. Just because of the way things are different. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hate to admit it, but I actually own a copy of last year's MLB The Show, and I'll play it once in a while just to get get a little eye candy in. But it's not something I want to go to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tried video games, and it just, and again, it's probably because of my, my history. I like my imagination. To me, and you do, I can watch you do your games. You're the same way. When there's a double, you have to picture where that double went. Well, was it down the line? Was it over the first baseman's head? Did it,
Well, I mean, some games it'll tell you where it went, but
right.
like
But
in
even
Strat,
then, it's like, did it, short hop the wall?
yeah.
Did, Pete
Or you can
Incognito.
kind of imagine it too, like on an X chance. So like, okay, it's a left field X. I mean, you're thinking, okay, did the left fielder, bang into the wall and miss it, or did he try for a shoestring catch and didn't get it?
Yeah, don't you love it when you got a center fielder with a 1 and you roll a 1 on the 20? To me, that's like that's a highlight reel play.
That's Willie Mays right there.
Exactly, because anybody with a 2, 3, or 4 is not going to catch that ball.
That's right.
And so again, with those numbers, you can kind of put your imagination to work.
But then I get frustrated when I have a 1 center fielder and it goes to an error check. When I'm doing advanced, and it goes to error check instead of the range check.
Yeah, that is one thing. The outfielder errors, I don't think they do those very well, because you get a lot of drop balls. Whereas most outfielder errors are on throws.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit. I wish they could tweak that just a little bit. But
That's
again,
something that Inside Pitch did tweak, where it has to be an odd number for it to be an error.
Okay.
On the outfielder's error.
I think Strat gets the error amount right.
Yeah.
It's just the wrong kind of errors.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't think major leaguers, and maybe I'm just not watching enough baseball to know this, but I always feel like most errors are either, it's hit to them and it goes through their legs, so it's a single and an error. Now on the super advanced, you get those kind of errors, but still there's a lot of errors where it's a 2-base error because they dropped the ball, whereas probably it's a 2-base error from a throw.
And another thing with Strat too is, to me, I mean, I don't know that, I haven't looked it up to know for sure, but it seems like there are more injuries to pitchers than there are position players.
Yeah.
position players have injuries on their cards and pitchers don't.
Well, with the super advanced, they do the 612 or the
Right.
611,
But
and I've been using that. But that's something with on this 2022. I'm doing the injuries because usually, I do as played,
yeah.
and so I don't do injuries. But on this
Mhm.
one, I am, and it seems like that comes up a lot more. So I might have to.
Right.
But I've got a rule on this 2022 is that I can only have one injury per team per game.
Right.
And there can only be 3 total people injured because it was just
Yeah.
getting too much for me to keep track
I
of.
should have done that from a demolition league because I ran out of players on my demolition league. Even with the extra players, I go to the computer and get some guys
Yeah,
because
no, to
Seattle
me,
had 2 guys hurt, had Robinson Cano hurt, and somebody else hurt,
yep.
and then a couple guys got traded in real life, so they wanted to have him for the playoffs. So I'm down to using computerized cards now. So
Yeah, no,
for a couple of them.
it was getting too confusing for me. So it was
Yeah.
my rule is only 3 per team total at
Yep.
one time, and only 1 per game. Because again, if
Yep.
I'm got 4 people injured, and I've got to try to, it wasn't getting fun for me. But I
Another
agree.
thing I like on Strat too, and I picked this up from Tenacious Earl too when he was doing his thing, was the rest rolls. I like the rest rolls and
Yeah,
schedule.
I
You know,
haven't tried that, but I remember you doing
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, okay, if you roll I think if you roll 1d6, I think it is. If you roll a 1, then it checks center field or shortstop and DH or something, and
and I think that's in
it
the
goes
rule
by the
book,
number of
isn't it?
at-bats to see whether they have to rest or not.
Isn't that in the rule book?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it
It's
was.
on the super advanced fielding chart.
Okay. Yeah, I
It's
remember
on the
seeing
back
that
side of
now.
the super advanced fielding chart.
Yep. Yep.
Down at
No,
the bottom. And it talks about, if a guy has over 600 bats, he doesn't have to rest at all because he had so many at bats. You don't have
right.
to worry about it. But if you're at a rest roll and it's a guy who has 150 bats and he played yesterday, it's like, well, he's got to rest. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Now, one thing the Strat computer game does is that even when you're not doing as played, it does a pretty good job of making lineups. Now, I'll go in and I'll
Yeah.
tweak it, because I'm doing both teams in this
Right.
2022.
Mhm.
And so we'll look at it, and then I'll get my cards out and kind of make lineups. But I'm finding it does a pretty good job of doing the lineups and getting
Yeah.
people rest. If you do the primary with rest setting,
Mhm.
so that's even not as played, and so
Yeah.
it does a pretty good
Well,
job.
that's another thing too. When I was doing the demolition league and using the Strat computer would tell me, like, bullpen guys. If I was starting to use one bullpen guy
Yeah,
too often,
yeah,
he
he'd
would
be
be
tired.
highlighted. So I
Yep.
can say, okay, wait a minute, he's got to rest.
Yeah, no,
Where unfortunately the digital diamond one doesn't do that. So I've got a Excel log of all my relievers to make sure I
right.
use them enough and one guy doesn't get overused because
Yeah,
the
no,
computer doesn't really say that.
I use Strat. Again, that they'll let you know they're tired, and you can actually look and see their days, when they pitch and everything. I also
Yeah,
keep up Baseball Reference.
yeah,
Baseball Reference is my friend because
yeah.
when you look at their stats, they've got their main 5 relievers, and
Mhm.
then the relievers below that, and so that way I know especially if it's a season I'm not familiar with, which
Right.
2022 I wasn't. I'm getting
Yeah.
there, but
And
it's
the one
really the
thing you really don't
closer.
want to do, one thing you really don't want to do is use a reliever before he makes a start, and you didn't
Yeah.
realize he's making a spot start,
Yep.
and
Yep.
you just used him for 2 innings of relief before that.
And Strat will tell you that, it's got
Yeah.
the little, I forget the code exactly, but it'll
It's
like
like
A, B,
F6
C,
or F
D,
something or other, and
something like
it
that.
tells
Yeah.
you who the next guys are.
It'll like the next 3 guys,
Yeah,
who's coming up. Now, when you're doing, as card, or well, when you're not doing as played, then, you've got some liberty. So
right.
I kind of, got the cards out, divvied everybody up
Yeah,
to their top 5 starters. And so I'm doing the rotation,
yeah,
and so I just make sure it's got the right pitcher when I do the lineups. But
yeah. Diamond Mine's good about that too. It'll tell you who their who the next 4 pitchers are.
Diamond Mine was my game
Yeah,
when I first got into computers. Well, no, I take that back. Micro League was, but then
yeah.
when Diamond Mine. So, did you play Diamond? I was going to ask you this. When
That
it
was
was
my first
DOS.
main. I mean, I played the heck out of Diamond Mine. I played several season replays with Diamond Mine
So, did
before
you
I did
play it?
anything else.
Did you play it, but pre-Windows when it was DOS? Did you go that
Yes.
far back?
Yep. I had the
Yep,
disc.
yep, I did
I had
too.
5 1/4 floppies and 3
Yeah,
1/2 floppies.
yeah. And then I
I still
remember when
got
it.
them. They're not
I
worth it.
remember
I can't
when it
use them, but I got them.
when it went to Windows. It was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is a big deal. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I played Diamond Mine back when it was DOS.
Yeah.
Was it Tippett? Was that the guy that was in
His
charge of that?
name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think
Leonard Tippett, maybe, I don't know, but
something like that. He was the
yeah,
one, but yeah, that was my game. But then I started missing the cards and dice, and obviously you know where I am now. So
yeah. Well, I liked it because I had a really good computer manager, and it was, if I just wanted to manage one team as a season replay, I didn't have to worry about the other teams. I'll let the computer take care of that. I can focus on my one team that I wanted to play.
I know a lot of people don't care for this, but when they went to pitch by pitch, I love
Uh-huh.
that. You know, I when I was doing Diamond Mine, once they did the pitch by pitch, that's all I
Mhm.
did, because there's so much extra strategy. It takes longer, of course,
Yeah,
but like
absolutely. It's a
when to throw
trade-off,
over
realism for
a
time.
little more
You're always
time. Yeah, but I always
I
use
did
the pitch
use
by
it when I
pitch.
had a guy on first base and I
Did you?
wanted to pitch out or pick off plays
Yeah,
or something. I'd use
yeah.
it for that.
I was a purist. I would use it the whole game.
Yeah.
Of course, it would make the games
The
long.
only downside about Diamond Mine is it's a really tough game to stream because it's hard. There's no bells and whistles.
Oh, absolutely
There's no
none.
sound. There's no nothing. So I'm not sure how many people want to watch that.
And for me personally, it's a closed engine, and so I
Yeah.
was always wondering, are
Yeah.
they
What
beating
really
things
happened
in the
behind that?
background? You
What's going
know,
on with this? Who's making the sausage?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I know when something goofy happens, it's because
Yeah.
the dice roll, because I roll them. But
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
I always, that's one thing I struggled with closed engines, that with
Yeah.
Strat I don't have to worry about, because I'm inputting the results
Same
myself.
thing with Action PC. It's also a closed
Yeah,
engine.
exactly, and that's a great game. I mean,
Oh, it is a great game. I
that's
love
got
it.
all the bells and whistles, and they just
Yep.
improve it constantly. But I,
Yep.
I, I just like the cards and the dice. Again, that's just me. But I have Action PC. I didn't get the last one, but I got the one before last. But I just,
Right.
again, when I got time to play, I will play.
And
We'll play Diamond Mine every once in a while. But
yeah, I mean, I kind of rotate whatever itch I want to scratch that day,
mhm,
I'll pull out that game.
yep.
So unless I got if I got a project going or something, then my hobby time is dedicated to getting these projects done. So,
Yeah. All
which
right. Well,
while we're going to really finish up this demolition league, so I've only got one, maybe two more games to go, and I'll be done with it. Then I can put that aside and focus more on the other stuff.
so are you enjoying the Yankee 2022?
I am. Well, the main reason I'm doing it because I've never done a full replay and payoff pitch, and I want to test the engine to see how
Okay.
the stats come out. I picked the Yankees just for the heck of it because they're the Yankees. I guess I don't really like the Yankees. I don't dislike the Yankees, but I'm having a lot of fun. I'm going to learn about the players. Obviously, there are a lot of strikeouts. I will say that. I mean,
Oh,
it's
isn't there though?
painful with the strikeouts.
Isn't it? And the
Um,
pitching changes. I just,
yeah.
bringing
So
in.
I got to watch myself because I'm looking at these cards and like some of these starters only have 5 innings. They're going to get
Yeah,
fatigued in the fifth inning or something.
yeah, no, Strat. I mean, again, Strat's that way. Of course, the way I've got it wired up, I'm doing it
Yeah.
my way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've played like probably like 15 or 16 games, and I
Right.
think I've had 3 complete games. You know,
Right.
so I'm
But if
doing
you've
it.
watched any of
I'm
the
doing it my way.
if you've watched any of the Yankee payoff pitch games I do, when I put the lineup, the little printout lineup and the
Yeah,
bullpens,
all the
there's like 3 guys
Yep,
on the bench and like
yep.
10 relievers.
That drives me batty. I mean,
It's
it's
almost
just
insane.
it's like
And I do the three batter rule just to be because I'm playing 2022, so I want to play by the rules.
yeah. See,
So I'm doing a 3 batter rule, which
I
I don't
had
like, but I do it
yeah, no,
anyway.
I had the Mets were in Atlanta, and I had a 16 inning game.
Yeah.
No runner on second base.
Oh,
Again,
I did the run on second base too
I didn't.
because I was doing it offline and it went to extra innings. And I looked at the computer and they got a guy on second. I'm like, how do you get there? And
Yep,
then I had to remember, oh yeah, that's the
yep.
extra
Not me,
runner
man.
rule.
We had a 16 inning barn burner the way it's supposed to be done. So it's therapeutic. Because again,
Well,
I
I'm
I
trying
get
to
so
play it
frustrated.
with the modern rules so that I can
Well, of course,
try
yeah.
to try to like the modern game better.
Yeah, no,
So,
I get it 100%. That
yeah,
when I got that season, that was one of my options. I actually
yeah,
considered it, and like you,
yeah,
it would have to be the American League. I just the
yeah.
DH in the National
DH and
League,
National League just does not
I
compete.
just can't
That's
take it.
why I didn't pick a National League team because
Yep,
it just wouldn't go right.
yep. But that's beauty of my universe. I'm making it the way it's supposed
Yeah.
to be. So
I mean,
again,
if the
we got
Reds are playing the Pirates and there's a DH in there, something's wrong.
in it the truth. It just
Yeah.
it it breaks me down.
Yeah. And then you got there was a tweak. I don't know. I guess Strat fixed. Maybe there was a tweak in the last year's game about the Otani rule or something. They had a
Mhm.
problem where it wasn't swapping him out, or was
Yeah,
when it took
no,
him out as a pitcher, it took him out as a DH too, or something.
yeah,
I don't.
no, because they struggle with that in I've played a little bit of their Negro League seasons,
Yeah.
And because they had so many like double duty Ratcliffe and those, a lot of Otani type players,
Otani types. Yeah.
they struggle with that when they've got, a hitter's card and a pitcher's card, and they kind of
Yeah.
are equally good at both.
Yeah. And
That's one
I
thing
don't
that
know if
Strat
as a
struggled with.
replay person, I don't know. You may not be this way. Sometimes I'm kind of masochistic to myself where I'll pick a really bad team and want to replay a bad team, like Dave Gardner did the 1899 Spiders kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I, I I couldn't do that as a team, but I do like doing it when I'm doing every, again, my bucket list, I really want to do a whole year, every game, every
Right, like
team.
you were doing with the APA that one time in
Yeah,
46, right?
exactly. Well, I did it with 47 Strat.
Yeah,
I've tried it offline
yeah,
numerous times. I'm doing it with the 2022 National League,
right,
which isn't as played, but still it's
right,
every game for every team, for 14 teams. So that's on my bucket list.
yeah.
So,
I was wondering next year if anybody wants to play the Oakland A's in a season replay,
oh dear.
they've got to be really
Yeah, they're the
glutton
new
for punishment.
62 Mets.
Yeah, with
That's
their,
going to
I
be
think they
the
had like 2,500 in their last attendance was
it's
2,500.
it's sad. I mean, they're obviously. I mean, it appears they're obviously trying to lose on purpose.
Yeah,
Not the players, but the management. They
sounds
don't.
like the remember the old Major League movie where they were trying to get
Yep.
him out of Cleveland.
Except it's not turning out that way.
Yeah,
There's no guy from jail coming to help.
yeah. No, it's sad. It's
It
really sad.
is.
And that's one thing about modern baseball. They'll never do it, but I really do believe they need a salary cap and a salary minimum. So
Yeah.
the
No,
the
I
low teams
agree.
can't underspend, but you can't buy your team either.
Yeah. No, I agree. If I was king, I would cut prices. To games.
Hmm.
For food. Again,
Right.
how, do these guys really need 16 million a year?
Yeah.
There's plenty of money. And if you're trying to win over more fans, seems to me like it'd be okay, fellas. We're all gonna let's make a little less. We can
Hmm.
make it on 12 million. Let's charge less. Let's make it more affordable for a family to come to a game. You know, uh,
And I'm not really. Maybe I'm in the minority on this, but I'm not really a fan of the pitch clock. I don't like speeding up the game too much. I mean, to me,
I
baseball lends itself to be a little bit more
A
methodical.
little, but again, I like the effects of the speed clock or the pitch clock. I wish they could do it without the pitch clock,
Yeah.
because again, I
I
mean,
mean, but to sit there and call a third strike on somebody for a pitch clock violation in the
no,
critical
I
part of the
agree.
game to me is just ridiculous.
But I mean, you're like me. I'm sure you go to retro, retro sheet or not retro
Yeah.
sheet, but baseball reference. If you
Hmm.
look at the times on those games, it was an hour 52.
Right.
I mean, they very rarely was it. I mean, was it? That they back then the games went quick.
Oh yeah.
And again, it was, of course, now you've got commercials.
Right.
But
That's
again,
a big part of it is the TV doing
but it's
that.
the same thing. It's like, okay, well, let's cut a commercial or two. How much money do we
Yeah.
need? It's
Or
just
run a commercial while the game's going on, running across the banner or have the
yeah.
announcer say
Golf,
this inning
golf.
is brought to you by whoever.
Yeah, well, that's the way they used to do it.
Yeah.
And golf, and I mean, golf does that.
Yeah.
They'll have like the in play while they got a
Exactly.
video or a commercial going.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Another rule I don't like is the limited number of times you can throw to first because once you've used up your limit, the
Yeah,
base runner knows you can't throw over there anymore. He's going to go.
exactly.
It's like giving him a free base.
Exactly, and that's like they're talking about, limiting the number of foul balls you can hit. They've talked about that. To me, that's part of the game. I mean, Pete Rose,
Yeah.
he was the master at that. He would
The
wear a
pitcher
pitch
bat, the
down.
pitcher batter interface battle is the heart of baseball, and you're taking that
Exactly.
away.
And so
If
if
the
you say
if
you
the
can
batter
only have
is good enough to foul off these tough pitches,
more power
he
to
should
him,
be rewarded for that. It's not
yep,
softball.
no, it's not. And again, that wears down a pitcher,
Exactly.
mentally and his arm.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, Ricky Henderson, that cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
That was part of the game. And you're right. If you can throw over there twice, and then after that, that really gives the base runner an unfair advantage that I don't think he should have.
Exactly.
But again, I mean, quit doing your gloves 20 times.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
avoid
now, granted, I don't want to see a Mike Hargrove up there doing his thing or a pitcher
right.
stepping off every 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's
But
good.
to me, it almost some of it feels rushed. Like, oh, he just barely beat the play clock,
Well,
when he does his
hopefully they'll
delivery.
get into a rhythm to where the effects of the clock is there,
Yeah.
but the side effects aren't. if you know what I mean. Hopefully they'll get into a rhythm where it, they won't get the negatives, the penalties, but
Right.
we'll get the benefit, of a little quicker game. But
I mean,
at any rate,
I like it to be quick to some point, but I mean, especially if I ever go to a game, I want to be able to get my money's worth and enjoy it. I don't feel like I don't want to feel like an hour and a half later, where'd the game go?
yep, no, I agree.
So,
All right. Well, did you have any other thoughts? Those are all the things that I had about Stratomatic. Again, I just wanted to, shoot the bull with somebody. And like I said, you've got a lot of Strat, and, I
well,
wanted.
one of the things on my bucket list, I may never do it, is to go to opening day one of those days, but I keep saying it. But
I'd like to do it while Hal is still with us, and that's, he's getting up there in years. So,
it's just, I'm down here in Virginia. I think, what, you're in Ohio?
Yep, I'm in Ohio, Cincinnati
So that's
area.
not exactly a short trip for either one of
Oh,
us.
it's not. So I mean, I'll probably never do it, but
I mean, if they were in DC or something, where like an hour and a half, maybe, or 2 hours or less,
well,
I'd probably drive it.
Maybe 3, but I mean, I'm looking at probably 10 to 12.
Yeah, I'd have to stay in a motel and get there the day before, and all. It's just, the money it would cost me to do all that, I could just buy the set.
Yeah, you would buy an extra set.
Yeah, and I'm,
play more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of cheap that way, but that's just me.
Well, none of us got money to burn. We have to make choices, that fit. So,
and I actually enjoy the minor. We got a minor league team here, and I enjoy the minor league baseball almost as much as the major league, because those guys are getting after it. They're not complacent. They're not overpaid. They're trying to get to the big leagues, and so they're always hustling. And I mean, the obviously the talent is not as good, but it's still quality baseball.
Yeah, I mean, again, except for what I'm getting into my 2022, I don't know most of the players, so it would be the same to me. That's one of the beauties of the major leagues, is that the players, but if you don't.
I haven't heard you butcher too many names though in 2022. You've done a pretty good job with the names, from what I can remember. I don't remember any ID Jester, way off the mark.
I'm lucking out then, because I mean, like, I know when I opened the set, I went through some Orioles, and I was like, I hadn't heard of any of those guys.
Well, one of the guys is Santander. That's how you pronounce that name. Is
Santander.
Yeah, it's the outfielder. I forget his first name, but it's Santander.
Santander. I'll have to remember that.
It looks like Santander, but it's pronounced Santander.
Yeah, I've been trying to watch a little bit. But again, it's just, it's too much for me. But
and that's what I'll do. Like on the 2022, like the next series I've got is with Cleveland. There's a couple guys I'm not sure their names, so I'll go back and listen to old YouTube videos when that guy's pitching, and see how the announcers give their name. And I figure if their own team announcer says it that way, then it must be right.
I probably should do that, but I'm too lazy to go back and do that.
Like there's one, the closer for Cleveland it's pronounced, or it's spelled Clase, but it's pronounced Clase.
Clase, okay.
It looks like Clase, but it's pronounced Clase, like he's French or something.
French, yeah. So. All right. Well, I enjoyed this very much. Thank you.
I did too. I appreciate it. I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, like I said, love your channel, and love your games, and watch them all the time. And
I watch a lot of YouTube videos when I'm driving around at work. I put on, whoever makes a new video, I'll put it on the back. I may not watch it, but I'll listen to it.
Yeah, no, everybody does that. And again, it goes back to what I said at the very beginning. Most of us don't have people that, my wife is very understanding of my hobby, and she's very gracious, and, she doesn't bother me about, me buying my seasons and things, but she could care less,
Right. Same here. I mean, she'll allow me to do my thing. She just doesn't want to be part of it.
Yep.
She's got her own interests. So,
and I got 2 daughters, and, love them dearly, but they just, they don't care. And, so to me, when I want to talk Strat or whatever, I go to YouTube, and, and so that's the beauty. So
and then even on a live stream, you're not really talking, you're just kind of typing. So you're not getting, I mean, there's some interaction there, but it's not the same as a conversation, obviously.
Yeah. And like I told you earlier, these kind of videos I really enjoy. I know Dave Gardner's been doing a lot of, getting different people and talking about different topics. And, I love the games. I love watching the games, but I also enjoy, just people talking about the hobby, and, him and Ron, they do a great job with digital dice. And
I think you mentioned it once before, and I'm kind of the same way. I almost prefer the hobby more than the game.
Yeah, no, there's no
actual game itself.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's why I prefer Strat to Diamond Mind. Diamond Mind is more baseball. Again, pitch by pitch. But I want the dice. I want the E ratings. I want the, again, I want all I want the game,
Well, when
and
I'm playing
so
too, I want to have something in my hand that I can hold.
exactly, they feel more real to you, don't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
And
again,
when
and
I'm playing
that's
computer, sometimes it's too easy just sitting there and click buttons, and it
exactly,
gets
and then
repetitive.
that's
And I
why,
kind of almost zone out of the game, and it's like I need to slow down and actually look at the cards and take
yeah.
my time and
And with
if
Strat, they have personality.
yeah,
Again,
exactly.
they've got a unique card, and
Hmm.
that's also why I keep score. Because
Oh, I
again,
love keeping score. And
yep,
I noticed you used the what you call it, the oh, Carpenter scorebook, so
yeah, no, those are
which I
great,
love too. So
expensive, but great.
it's expensive. Watch, I only bought the one,
Yep, no, they are, but I
but
love
I
them.
used it for my nationals thing, and it worked well for what I needed it for.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
but I know a lot of radio announcers and stuff use it in real life for
Oh
their.
yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's by far the best score book
You can put as
anywhere.
much detail in that thing as you want.
You can, and there's plenty of room. You got plenty of space,
Yeah.
and
I mean, it's a little bit overboard for what I need for a hobby like this, but
mhm.
payoff pitch scoreboard or score sheet works just fine for me
Yeah.
if I'm doing it, just on a table somewhere.
There's sometimes like is it Retro Sheet that has the play-by-play that you can actually print off?
Hmm.
I know like Replay, the computer, you can print off the score sheet from there.
Yep.
It's
After the
like
game is played. Yep.
no, before the game's
I mean,
played.
before the game's played. I'm sorry, it's got the
Yeah,
ratings in there and
yeah,
everything.
exactly. Isn't that brilliant? I wish Strat
Yep.
did that. That would be so sweet. That
Yep.
if it would print off the
Mhm.
pregame and have the stat ratings on there for you.
That's like payoff pitch. They didn't do it for 2022, but some seasons you can print off the as play with the ratings already on the
Yeah,
sheet.
exactly. They have
I
that
think
that
86 had
file.
that.
But Replay, I mean, you can do that right on the computer game. Even if
Yep.
you make your own lineups, then
Yep.
before the game starts, you have that ability to print off that score sheet, which is,
Yep.
again, Replay PC is just magnificent.
Yep. I mean, there are a lot, like I said, there are a lot of great games out there, PC and cards and dice, and it's just finding what flavor you like. And sometimes you got to take a bite of something that's not as good as you thought it was, and
Yep.
it's like, oh well, I wasted $40 on this game, but you got to go through the bad to get to the good.
Yep. No, I agree. And every game's different and gives
Yeah, I mean, there's
what
some
is it?
games I bought and I played them once and never saw the light of day after that. But some games I get more of my money's worth. So
What is it you say at the end of your play
play
whatever
it,
game you like?
like play whatever game you like to play it the way you like to play it. I'm not.
Yep.
I'm more robotic when I'm doing the video. I can't regurgitate it now, but it's
No,
to the
but that's
effect of play whatever game you choose to play, however you choose to play it.
however you choose to play it. There's no right or wrong way. If you enjoy it,
Exactly. As
that's the
long as
way
you're
you do
the
it.
important part is it's a hobby and you're having fun. And
Yep. And we have a lot of
don't
options.
I mean, if it's even if it's a team you really really like, it's just a card and dice game. So don't have a coronary because your guy struck out the last of the ninth or whatever and lost the game. It's just a
Yep.
game.
And it happens in real life. I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of the game. So
Yeah, and when I found when I'm playing these, I don't pull for either one of the teams, so it's very easy for me to manage both teams
yep.
because I really like with the Yankee one, I could care less who wins each game. I just like to play the game.
Just enjoying watching the game. Yep.
Yeah, and then enjoying. I want to be able to look back at the end and see, okay, how did the payoff pitch system? How does it compare to real life stats? Are they reasonably close? Now,
Yeah.
granted, I mean I'm using the players different than they used. I am doing it as play, but once the game starts, then it's free willy after that. You
Yeah,
can do
but
whatever
still, I
you
mean,
want.
if you're doing as play, the starting pitchers, you have the rosters the same. I mean,
Right.
you're getting pretty close, to what
Yeah.
they did in real life. So I mean, if it's a
Yeah.
good
Well,
sim,
that's the
which I'm
reason why
sure it
I
is.
love As Played because I want to have the same, if I'm trying to manage, especially if I'm doing a single team replay, I want to know, like for the Yankees, all right, I want to have the same decisions Aaron Boone had. I don't want to have an
Yeah,
advantage over Aaron Boone. I don't want to say, well, Aaron Boone didn't have this guy because this guy was hurt, but I got him here. No, if he's hurt, then I got to deal with it and figure out how to get around that. So
yeah.
I
No,
want the
and that's
same
one
something.
reason I like as played is like, like 47, for example. Part
Yeah.
of 47 is the managers, and
Yeah.
so when you're doing as played, you're actually, not only are you seeing Ted Williams, you're seeing the Boston Red Sox manager, whoever that was,
Right.
and it's kind of fun to watch how the season evolves,
Mm-hmm.
because they'll have a guy at second base and obviously he didn't work out. Then they'll bring in the guy that killed it,
Yeah.
or you'll see when somebody's injured. I know, like in my 1920 replay, Swede Risberg, the shortstop, was out for a month,
Mm-hmm.
and so, they moved Buck Weaver over to short,
Oh, that was when I was doing the Chicago White Sox replay from '77. That was a killer. There was this guy named, I want to say his name was Niles Nyman or something. He was some marginal guy, but the manager in the beginning in April thought he was going to be the next big thing and kept putting him out there, even though he's hitting $130, and I've got George Order or Ralph Garr sitting on the bench, and that's like it's sort of like the John Vukovich, remember from the Reds of '75, before they moved Pete Rose to third base. They had this guy named John Vukovich that couldn't hit.
I remember
keep taking him out, and it's the same. I kept tempting about the fifth inning to pull that guy out and put someone else in, but I kind of made my own rule that I got to wait at least till the seventh inning before I start doing
I
wholesale substitutions.
Yeah, I do the same thing. It's like that's not really fair to because again, I know how it's going to work out.
Right. The manager saw something in him that he thought he could do, and apparently just didn't.
That's part of the replay. That's part of that year. I want to know. I want to see how the Yankee staff evolved and.
I mean, just the Yankee replay. Aroldis Chapman had a struggling year, but they kept putting him out there in safe situations in the beginning of the year because that's what he did. He does.
Because he was so good so long. Yeah.
And actually, he's kind of resurrected his career in Kansas City this year, which is kind of interesting. But
okay, I haven't.
But I'm not going to bench Chapman because I know he didn't have as good of a year. I'm going to play it the way I think Aaron Boone would have played it in April.
No, I agree. I
try to be as realistic as I possibly can.
That's why I do the same thing because again, I want to kind of relive this because obviously, 47, I wasn't there, and so I want to relive it. I want to, get as much of that flavor. And again, even as played, there's enough differences that it makes it, for some people there's not enough, but for me, there's enough variation and differences that it keeps it interesting. But still, you can kind of see.
Some people going on. Some people are really, just so strict. It's like, okay, not only am I doing as played, but I'm going to bring in the exact 4 relief pitchers that this guy brought in.
I don't enjoy that because once the first
he's bringing into one situation, I might have a different situation.
And if it was a different situation, Boone's not going to do that.
Right, exactly.
So
he brought these 4 pitchers in because they were down 10-1, so he's using the scrubs.
Exactly.
I'm playing the replay game, and it's 3-2 in the 9th.
You want the
I'm
closer.
bringing in a closer. I'm not bringing in these scrubs.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. But
I want to start the game when the first pitch happens. It's exactly like it was in real life, but after that, it's open world, in my opinion.
Yep.
Within reason. I try to be realistic.
You would try to do it like Boone would.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to. I don't know what he would do all the time, but I would think, okay, this is a reasonable move.
Right. Yeah,
to do this. It's not reasonable. It's not reasonable to bring in, a left-handed guy that can't hit against a left-handed reliever. That wouldn't make any sense.
Right. Unless that's all you got.
Yeah. If you're down your last guy, then when like I said, in 2022, if I want to make a defensive, pinch hit for somebody and bring in a defender, like pinch hit for the catcher and bring in the backup catcher, and they got one guy left, and that's it. So.
And see, on my 2022, I'm doing again my way. I've got 11. Each team's got 11 pitchers, 5 starters and 6 relievers.
Yeah, and that's enough.
Yeah, for me again because I'm.
And if you're are you doing 25-man rosters?
Pretty close. Again, I'm not doing exactly.
So each team has like at least 4 or 5 guys on the bench. Then I would.
Oh yeah, no, most of them's got either 14 or 15 regular players, and then.
And if you're not doing DH, then that's going to leave a whole lot of guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and again, but only every team does have only 6 relievers and 5 starters.
And I'm also I got maybe a bad reputation. I don't know, but I'm like the double switch fiend. When I do my replays, that's you're always doing double switches. You're always using like everybody on your bench. And I was like, that's the way I like to play it when I'm doing national.
No, I think most managers will do that. I think for me, I can get lazy. Instead of looking to see if there's a double switch, sometimes my tendency is to just bring in the reliever instead of looking down that avenue.
It's like, oh crap, he hit second this inning.
Exactly. And so I think that's, you want to manage it like a manager would. And so obviously, especially when you have pitchers hitting, the double switch is a big deal. And so you just want to, explore that avenue to make sure that the manager would.
And you also don't have to double switch for a pitcher. You can double switch for a weak hitting infielder or a weak hitting catcher.
Yeah.
And make them be, 9 batters away from having to hit again versus a pitcher that might be better than they are.
You're right. It's not as much as the pitcher hitting, but still, it's an option as well. But, all right.
But anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I appreciate you asking me.
thanks for chatting, and hope everybody enjoyed this. And I'll see you next time.